We are here in the Hill Farms building, and you have the option on Teams as well. So Madeleine is my name. I'm the DB program chief.
Oh, sorry.
And it's okay. Yeah, and so anybody joining here will have to mute speakers and mics. And why don't we go over to you, Ben?
Yeah. I'm Ben Thompson. I'm Ben Thompson, I'm the alternative contracting engineer at WISTA. I'm here to just talk a little bit about the design build projects that are going on.
Thanks.
Hi, Jill Fairman, proposal management engineer. I'm just going to have a few updates on the lettings. Beth Canester, director of Air Project Development.
Kyle Bell, CFO of Integrity Grading.
Sarah Janice, Integrity Grading.
Thank you all. I see a 715 on the phone, which could be Larry.
That's me. How we doing?
Hey, Larry. Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Larry at JPS. Ann Nishak, welcome to the meeting.
Hello.
Hello. And Andrea Poppenhagen, I see you. Hello.
Hello, I'm Angela Copenhagen, Stevens Engineers.
Nice to see you. Ava Gardetto, I don't know if we've met before. Hello.
Hi, I'm with Michael's Corporation this summer as an intern.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Yeah,
Thanks for being
thank
here.
you.
And Bob Duth.
I am Bob Duth, project manager with Kramer North America.
Welcome to the meeting. Brian Mitchell, I see you there. Hello.
Good afternoon, Brian Mitchell with Michaels Corporation, Supplier Diversity Manager.
Fabulous. Thanks for being here. Shannon Cleary at Aeronautics.
Hello.
Hello, Shannon. And there's Leah Collins-Warchuk, my director. Welcome, Leah.
Hi, Madalena.
And Ilya Ayaz, it's nice to see you.
Hey, nice to see you too.
First time at Transact.
Wave hi real quick. I work for PE Services in Minneapolis.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Jesse Friend, also with Aeronautics. Welcome.
Hello. Greetings.
And you know Lori Green, our organizer. Thanks for being here, Lori.
Hi, everybody.
Jennifer Hildebrand. Can't quite see your whole name. Maybe that is it, though. Jennifer. Ah, good.
Hi, greetings, everyone. Jennifer Hildebrand. I'm the president and CEO of PE Services. Nice to meet all of you.
Nice to meet you. Welcome. Scott Lowry. How are you?
I'm good, Madeline. I had to
Great.
catch up with my video and my speaking. I'm at home today working on an Alliant gas meter replacement.
Oh,
so
fabulous.
Hopefully my internet holds up. I might not have my video on.
Okay.
But hello, everybody.
Well, we'll come back to you shortly. And Matt Grove, welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, you have your halo today. Ijoma O'Rourke and Maria Rojas, both from my DBE team, are on the line. Welcome to both of you. I see Ryan Pfeiffer. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, everybody. Yep, Ryan Pfeiffer, president of Pfeiffer Brothers Construction.
Thanks for being here. Stephanie Mercado, Brian's partner over at Michaels. Nice to see you.
Hi.
And Ugo Nwabarocha, greetings to you.
Good afternoon. Ugo, President, National Association of Minority Contractors, Wisconsin.
Nice to see
you. Everybody.
And Natalia Vega has also signed on from the DBE team. So I think that we are all here. Did I miss any phone numbers? Nope. Okay. So with that, can we go back over to Scott, who's our deputy administrator here at DTSD, and he has a few words of greeting and information to start us off.
Thanks, Madeline. I guess we're starting the new state fiscal year and a little bit more than halfway through the federal fiscal year. So there's a couple things I want to talk about of what we've accomplished so far. You know, we've submitted the DB Uniform Report to Federal Highways for the first half of fiscal year 22. And so far, cross our fingers, we're through March, we were at 1394 and our overall goal was 1241. So it's great to see that we're exceeding the goal. I guess we don't want to stop there either, but it's good to see that we're ahead of what our annual goal is. The other thing that I've seen, over the last year with Madalena and Leah and their teams, is they're trying to grow the DBE firms that we work with, is they're being very involved in making people aware of the programs that we have. So they've, outside of our base DBE commitments, we've processed more than 400 additional DBE commitments after the contract was executed. So that's awesome. They're doing contractor site visits to make awareness of the great thing that the program is doing and what it can do for not only the DBs, but also the primes, and continue to reach out to others to, put faces with names and begin to build those relationships. So I just want to thank Leah and Madalena and their teams for all the great work that they're doing, because I think they're starting to turn the corner for where we were to where we're headed. So again, a big thank you to them and to you guys too for helping them along throughout the last year or so. So I'm going to turn my camera off because it seems like my internet connection is poor. So I'm going back to you, Madalena.
Right, thanks very much, Scott. I see Carlo joined us as well. Thank you. Nice to see you here, sir. Okay, so we are going to go over to Lori Green, who is going to give us a brief review of the minutes from our last Transact meeting.
All right, so I'm going to turn my camera on too, because as I move, I freeze. So I'll just do the overview, but hi, everybody. All right, so we'll just go straight down to the DBE program and letting updates. The lead presenter for the DBE program and letting updates was DBE program chief Madalena Maestri, and she discussed planning DBE roundtable meetings and gave May letting updates. Highlighted that the overall response rates from bidders has been showing improvements. We moved on to agenda item 5, the GFE rubric updates, good faith effort rubric updates. Lead presenter was Kathleen Panic of the DBE unit. She discussed assigned DBE goals as of April 2022, gave an explanation of how DBE goal achievement is tracked, provided updates to good faith effort rubric along with an explanation on the good faith effort grading and review process, and further stated that projects with DBE goals assigned are currently exceeding those goals, which may lead to fewer projects with DBE goals assigned as we move forward this year. And a copy of the good faith effort rubric is provided in the report. Agenda item number 6, DBE Attainment Report. Lead presenter Maria Rojas from the DBE unit reviewed the DBE utilization report for construction as of March 2022 and consultant as of February 22. She highlighted that the overall DBE attainment for construction and consulting as a percentage of federal funds is at 13.05%. And she further stated that the federal uniform report will be presented during July's Transact meeting. We moved on to agenda item number 7, WinStat Transit FTA draft 3-year DBE goal 2023 through 2025. The lead presenter was Becky Soderholm from the WinStat Transit section. She gave an overview of the triennial DBE goal setting process for non-highway projects with federal funds. And she further stated that the public input meeting updates to discuss the draft goals will be forthcoming. There is a copy of the Transit 3-year goal draft and the transit system map provided in the report. Agenda item number 8, DBE Outreach update, was presented by me, Lori Green, from the DBE unit, and I reported the outcomes from outreach phone calls that were made to WISDOT certified DBEs, and a PowerPoint presentation that I presented during that report is provided in the minutes. Finally, final agenda item number 9, industry issue check-in and open agenda, which included statements from WISDOT, OBOEC, and DBE staff, and questions and comments from stakeholders, and the meeting was adjourned.
All right, thank you, Lori. Do we have any changes or edits to those notes from those who are here? Not seeing any hands. So can we move to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Jill. Second, please.
I'll second.
Thanks, Kyle. This is actually cool. I can just look. Right. Okay, thank you. Those minutes are approved. Oh, and you know what? I'm just remembering I said I was gonna bring treats. If you all come in person to the next meeting, I'm gonna have treats.
Next time.
Yes, yes. Bring treats for in person. Okay, so let's move on to our DB program and letting updates. Really we're going to be talking about DB program updates all throughout. But one of the things that I wanted to note now was that we are in the process of moving our first mobilization loan through. So you may recall that we've brought that program back in which we can guarantee loans for DBs who qualify and have an existing contract with WSDOT. And we can do guarantees for those loans. So we don't give a loan, but we can be the guarantor. And so we've got one underway and very excited about that. So that program is now launched. We're also working on our next round of the DBE mentor protege program construction. We've gotten through our first 2 years, so we're looking at the next round of that and continuing with some of our existing mentors as well, which is great. We do have a couple of the proteges who want to continue, so we'll do another year there. And we're also working on building the mentor protege program for the consultant side, of which we do now have 3 participants in that program, 3 pairs. So those are some really brief program updates. We'll focus a little later on some of the things we're doing with contractor visits and getting feedback. And really this meeting, this is the time for you all to engage and be providing information to us. So we'd like to see this as that kind of an exchange and not just us here delivering information at you, but really more of a conversation. So in terms of the letting, we just had our July letting. There was one project with federal funds. We were close to meeting the DB goal there, but a bit shy. So that project has now gone through the GFE process, was approved, and now is over with you, Jill.
Yep, being reviewed at this point.
Okay. So what do you want to add on letting in general? Anything?
Letting in past meetings and discussions with some of the contractors, we've gotten some feedback that with the DB tab now being in the Bid Express environment, that some of the contractors would like the ability to have 2 people in the system at the same time. Right now, that's not able to be done the way the program's written. And we have started to mention this in some of the committees that are looking at rewrites on some of this. So it's definitely something out in the future, but we are, hearing that concept. None of the other states have raised the issue, but I think we're far ahead in many of the areas of trying to get this implemented. So we're going to continue to go down that process. It's not a forgotten concept. So we'll keep moving forward on that. The other thing I wanted to touch base with on the letting is many of you are aware, we had the bill funding come about. And so as a result, we programmed a lot of projects here at the end of the federal fiscal year. And so in November, currently we have quite a few projects actually programmed. And we've been going through a process at this point on redistributing some of those lets. So you will see maybe some of your other meetings, you've heard, as many as 90, 98 projects programmed in November. We're right now moving about 12 of them to October. They're going to vary in size, vary in type, but they are going to be added into the October letting. And then we're also investigating taking somewhere around 20 to 25 projects and moving them out into December, January, or February. The intent is to try to make it easier for contractors to bid, not have quite so many as tight together, and for us to process as well. You guys need us to process them so you can get to work. So from that aspect. So been getting a lot of help from Mike Holker, our deputy director, and done. We definitely are still moving through the process, so you'll continue to see things move. Definitely won't be matching some of the stuff copies of project schedules, that type of thing. So just be kind of aware of that and watch for what's out there. As we're going, and feel free to call if you have questions.
Great, thank you. And with that one project in July, all bidders were responsive, so that was a positive. And we continue to trend in that direction where, you know, what we see now, if there's something non-responsive, is generally an error, and not that somebody didn't know. So we're happy to see that we're moved in the direction of this being, in general, a positive for people. I see, Scott, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, Jill, for the projects that we're going to be moving out into December, January, February, and beyond, those would be federal fiscal year 23 projects, correct?
Correct. That we've gone through and looked at everything that was funded in 22 with 22 federal dollars, and then what is potentially in 23, because October, November is kind of our switch month. So those are the ones that we're actually looking, and that's what the limit is. If we need to use federal fiscal 22 funding on it, that has to stay in November. The greatest part. So we're going to try and do as much flexibility as possible, but unfortunately we have, requirements when we use the funds, so we have to do it to a certain degree.
Okay, good, thanks. Anyone have any questions or comments on letting?
The other thing I'd like to mention with the letting is that we've seen, I would say 99% of the contractors are using the electronic submittal tab. So that's been a good improvement. I think just rarely, once or twice, we've seen, and it's not on a consistent basis. So glad to see that. I hope it helps prevent errors, and hopefully we can keep making that system work better and better.
Yeah, we were talking with Kyle and Sarah about that yesterday, and you were finding it's beneficial.
Oh, it's very beneficial.
Good. Good. Yep. We hope that's the consensus in general, and we're not anticipating changes at this point. Like, we're really looking to stay stable where we're at with bidding. So at least from the DBE office, we're not going to change things for a while. And if at any point we need to, it'll be really just because it's a major improvement for industry. So with that, we can move on and look at our attainment reports. I'm curious how my screen looks coming through to you all. We've got a screen here, and then I've got this screen, so I'm not really sure how it's going to come across. I'm hoping that I'm just going to share this report. You're seeing it full screen. So somebody on the line, or I guess Jill, you're logged in. You just see my screen. You see me too?
Yes, I see you.
Okay, maybe I should, well, I don't know how to actually get myself out of here. Sorry all. I'm just gonna.
If you're curious, if you're online, you can blow it up yourself in Teams. You can actually use your scroll to do that.
Okay.
So if you're having troubles reading the numbers, you feel free to blow it up a little bit.
And I zoomed in a little here so you can see it. So this report, you all, anyone who previously years was attending this meeting, this was called the Yemi report. And we've changed it since our engineer Yemi had retired. It is the Db Attainment Report. We made a few other structural changes just so that the information can translate hopefully a little easier to you. But I'll point out a few highlights here. Each month we meet with DTIM, which is our financial arm, and they help us calibrate the amount of estimated construction funds, federal funds left in the year. This number will change. So if you look at a report next month and it says something else, Lori, do you want to mute that person for me, please? 868 could change, but just letting you know that's because these are estimates that get updated as we might have to shift a percentage of federal versus state, for instance. So you can see we've gone through the majority of that, and with about 775 million on the construction side. So this report is representing where we're at with construction through June. So we don't have our July letting in here yet. guess I can't move it over if I've made it big. So the assigned goal overall is one of the numbers you'll see here. You'll see the amount that was assigned. You'll see the amount that was committed. So 67 million was assigned at the time of the letting. At the time of the letting, we achieved 71 million in commitments. And then further on in this, and you all have a copy of it, so you can look at it if you'd like to dig in a little deeper. But then you'll see where our modifications are as well. So this is all the after contract value, which Maria will go into for you more in depth. You can also see the GFE request that we received. We had 48. 41 were approved, but we didn't reject 7. There were some proposals that were actually rejected. And that's where you'll see in this column, can't scroll up and see what that column is, but 12 were the actual rejected proposals. So we'll take those out of our totals because it's as if that didn't happen, and then we'll bring them back in if they're relapse. And so then moving along, you see just the rest of there's the withdrawn amounts. So the other important part of this report is the funding that includes consultant participation. We have the data through May right now. So once we have through June, we'll be able to update these numbers. So you can see that when we look at the amount of federal funding that we estimate for the consultant side on federal funds, the amount that was projected for the consultant services goal. So 17.5 million roughly was what they were going to need to meet to have gotten approximately 12.41 of their federal funding. And I say there, but it's all us with stop, but construction and consulting run and operate very differently. So where these contracts come out, the money ends up hitting those in a bit different ways. So we are now already in May at 24 million for achievement in consulting. So you can see that they're also over what we would have needed to get for the federal funding to hit our goal. So at this point, and again, we don't have all of our consultant data in or the modifications that are still underway. So we're at 12.27. The overall goal is 12.41. We have confidence we'll be there with everything processed, but at this meeting, we like to sort of just give you a live update as close as we can to where we're at. So things are looking good there. And Maria, I'm going to come over to you so that you can share this report on the utilization after contract execution.
And Madalena, this is Leah. Before you go there, you probably didn't see my hand raised. If you could just remind everyone what the total number of GFEs we had last year so they can keep that in mind based on what you just mentioned. I think that would be helpful information.
Sure. We had 50 total that were approved last year, and we're at 42 right now approved.
Federal fiscal year 15.
Yes, federal fiscal year. Oops, sorry. I'll have to change that picture of my granddaughter so you can see something more current. Okay, Maria, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, for those of you that do know me, my name is Maria Rojas, and I am the Db utilization engineer. And if you are not familiar, this is the way that we track our utilization, all the additional modifications to the commitments that we approve during the bid letting. So with that, I can show you that here are on the first column, you can see the total for the uniform report that we mentioned before for 13.4 millions. And that one was the additions. So we got 12.3 millions on the first uniform report that we sent for federal fiscal year 22 from compared with the 12.3 millions. I'm sorry, the 12.3 millions compared with the 11.25 that we had for the same month on the federal fiscal year 2021. So it was a little more than $1 million improvement there. So to this federal fiscal year to date, we have 17.6 million in additions and 1.3 million in reductions, which give us a total modification of 16.3 millions, which with the 582 requests processed to date. So I don't know, that's really good news for us. And if you have any question, please let me know.
Thanks, Maria. I can't see if there are any hands up. Do we have hands up or questions?
Yeah, Matt.
Matt. Yes, sir.
So I have a question regarding total funding in the federal funds. It's going to be a little different this year because we've got federal funds from the federal fiscal year that will roll into next federal fiscal year's letting in November with a significant number of projects. How are you looking at handling that? I'm assuming those projects will be set aside and they will be considered 22 program dollars, and kind of where we at, I guess, if we already have the goal. In other words, will those be discretionary goals? And I'm assuming they can't count moving forward. They would have to count backwards towards this year's goal. Is that correct?
So you're saying if we put funding in November that should have been in September, for instance. Uh-oh. Someone will have to mute, sorry. Okay, it's fixed. Yeah, so we will, my understanding is put our goal on the year that the funding is actually programmed. So we will not work backwards on the funding with a goal and say, now we have to somehow catch up. So if we actually are letting those projects in November, we're going to count those goals towards the 2023. Am I answering your question?
Yes.
I guess
That's
Sorry, I
not
can't
what
see
I
who's
expected,
waiting.
but yes.
Are you
It's
thinking
so
it's
the
different?
question that I
2022, and they're gonna count it in 2022. I think the DB goes with that.
Yeah, well, let's get clarification for you then, Matt, because we have some different understandings. So I'll write down your question, and I have a meeting coming up next week with Mary. Actually, I can't see people now, but is Mary Ferlenza on by chance? Does anybody see her?
But Jada is. I think Jada's the one
Oh.
that's gonna be attending these meetings. Jada's
Okay,
on.
great. So Jada, could you address that question? Do you have information on that right now, or do we need to have a separate discussion on that?
Can you hear me?
say Leah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, let's have a separate discussion on the side about that one, Madalena.
Okay. All right, so we'll get back to you, Matt. I had recently talked with DTIM, so I have kind of a different insight, but I want to make sure we give you the right information.
Yeah, hang on, Madalena. I think Scott wants to weigh in because this is something we talked about last week.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
great.
it'd be good to
Scott?
I think it would be good to have a discussion because it's an odd year because of the number of projects that will be let in November that will actually have federal fiscal year $22 on them. So let's make sure we fully understand of what's going to be in November from a federal fiscal 22 and a federal fiscal 23 perspective, so we know what's there and what's not there, so we can get back to Matt and others on the group.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up. It is unusual.
Great.
I know I'll get a lot of
Yeah.
questions about it, how it applies to the goal, and if we already have the goal, are you going to make those projects discretionary? You'll still get credit for them with race neutral, but it'll be, going backwards, which might be a good, considering the size of the letting, that actually may be something that is good for everyone that's involved as far as processing and whatnot too. So But yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, well, and I'm glad Jada's here because now she's got those questions and she can, we'll work with her. So, thanks. Any, questions on this utilization report in our after contract execution? Okay, so I can't see hands. I'm gonna trust you all in the room to tell me if somebody's got a hand up, and we will share the uniform report. This was also in that packet that we sent out. You'll hear us refer to this report frequently because this is how we report to our federal partners on how we have done for DB participation for highways. This is halfway through, so it covers the the October 2022 to March 2021, October to March 2022 period. So we're always bridging the 2 years. So that's the first 6 months. And this is where our overall goal, you'll see for the attainment of those months, was the 13.9. It changes in real time as we move forward and we have more projects, but we lock it in at 6 months. So we'll lock it back in again at the end of September. And then that report happens in December. And then we tell you how we did for the whole year. This is where our demographic data comes from for our overall participation. This report includes construction consulting and any of that after construction commitment that we went through. So that top half of the report is all about commitments. What are we doing in the current federal fiscal year for committing to DBEs? The bottom half deals with payments. Section C are payments that are ongoing, and the section D are the payments for projects that closed within that period. So these projects are now complete. We won't have more payments on them. So that's kind of in a nutshell what this report is. I just wanted to give you the basics of it if you want to delve into it a little more yourself. But what I have pulled out from that, and also in the packet, was the analysis of the overall dollars and the breakout to the various ethnic groups within our directory and the DB commitments. So again, you have to keep in mind that we're comparing a first half to a full year. And so in many ways we can say, wow, that's amazing. Right? I mean, look at Black American participation, for instance, just for the first half is at 9.7 million and was at 11.4 at the last end of year. So that's cause for some celebration. We can't know for sure how we end up in the end, but first half is showing some good results. This 46 million here on women should be showing as the 46 million here for total. So apologies, that's showing the 0 on Caucasian men. This is 46 million in this category. And one thing to point out here in our non-minority commitment achievement is that at the end of the year, last year, and trending probably for about 10 years or so, Caucasian or the non-minority involvement, because sometimes it can be someone other than a Caucasian who fits that category, and can be men and women, has been around 60%. And we're at 55% for this part of the federal fiscal year. So we're seeing that trend start to shift, and many efforts going into overall diversifying of our contracts and working on getting more DBEs from different backgrounds included within contracting. We can't do it simply because we want to. We need those DBEs also to submit quotes, but we're actively looking at what may be causing barriers to quoting. How can we increase engagement in a very proactive way? So those efforts are underway. I want to point out that we also have some consistent areas here and mostly growth, but we see that there's a little bit of a variation. Hispanic American right now is showing as 17% overall for last year and 8% right now. I do expect that that will continue to go up, that number. We have doubled the subcontinent Asian American participation. It was at 1% for the entire year last year and is at 2% now just for the first 6 months. And so overall, we're feeling like we're trending in a good direction. We know that we have solid participation. So just sharing this with you so you can see where we're at the 6-month mark, and I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has them.
Hello, Madalena. I'm assuming it's just a typo, but if you look at the total column on the current chart, I'm assuming that was just a typo. It looks like that was, just want to make sure that was correct. And then secondly, looking into the, when you're seeing the trends, are there anything that you guys are seeing for the increase? And obviously good news on the increase. Is there anything that you're seeing as far as some of the trends that you're noticing for the increase?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that we're seeing that we are certifying firms more frequently that are not only trucking firms. And so when that happens, that raises the earning potential in general for that contractor. Because when someone new comes in as a trucker, they've generally got 1 truck, maybe 2. They aren't at the level where they could be a broker right away. They don't have an ability to bring in, more than maybe $100,000, $200,000 a year. Whereas if they can come in as, they're doing pavement marking or tying rebar or potentially traffic control, those are areas where they can start earning more. And that's what we're starting to see, that we, from our efforts and those of our partners, are the types of businesses that have been applying more and more for certification. So that's one trend we see. And yeah, thanks for pointing out that total column. That was what I was noting, is the one where the 46 million should be transferring over here to that column. It's still representing the same 55%. So yeah, sorry for that. Okay.
Ugo has a hand up.
Oh, Ugo, do you still have your hand up?
No, you answered all my questions. Thank you,
Okay.
Madalena.
Thank you. And Stephanie?
Thank you. I just have a quick question around the Hispanic American percentage. If you were to run this report with the same timeline last year, would you still see the 8%, or is this totally off from last? I'm just curious.
Right, and I'm not sure. We can look at our first half of the uniform report and see where that fell. And just take a look into each of those. And that is a helpful way, I think, also to see where we're at, as we move through. And maybe that's another graph that we add to this whole one, because it's helpful to see, wow, look, we've exceeded some of them in the first 6 months than we did in the entire year, right? But what's happening to the other ones where it looks like they're lower? And is that a cause for concern, or is that just because we're showing the half year? So thanks for that, because I think that might be another layer that we can add. And at some point we'll have everything everybody wants in these charts. Another suggestion I had received was, could we break it out into work type? And yes, we can. And Ijoma is actually working on a pretty intensive sort of real-time data collection, so that we could potentially bi-monthly be able to say, here's where we're at as a snapshot of each of our groups and their work types. So work in progress, but that's what we're looking at that right now. Okay, any other hands for me? Okay, great. So I will, I think, stop sharing. And let's move on to design build project updates. Ben. I'll go off camera.
Hi guys, John Zignago. I just hopping on the phone call now. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, great. Hey, John, thanks for being here.
All right, so I'm gonna give the 1-minute design build program background speech spiel to start this out. Design build was authorized for use in Wisconsin in 2019. The basic idea and the premise how it works is that WISDOT or a design consultant develops a set of preliminary plans and an environmental document and some preliminary design. And then after that, a 2-step procurement process occurs where we select our design builder, and the design builder then completes the final design, a lot of times environmental permitting, and then the construction of the project. The 2 steps are the request for qualifications, and then it's followed by a short list, and then those shortlisted firms get a request for proposals. We currently have 3 projects that have gone through or are going through the design build process. And up to 3 more will be selected potentially later this year under our current pilot program. So we have 6 total in that pilot program phase. It may not all be this year, though. There we go. So here's the first 3 projects. We had one in the north central region, which was a pavement replacement project. That one was canceled as a design build project. It's back in the design bid build or traditional program now. The second one that's moved through is the Lone Rock project in the southwest region on Wisconsin 130. That one, the contract was awarded in June. So that one, the design is underway. The third one is the one we're kind of going to focus on a little bit more today. That's the Northeast Region 1 on Wisconsin 125. That's in Outagamie County. It's a bridge replacement, and the proposals are due in August of this year. And I'll step aside for a minute now, or a couple minutes. We have the 2 teams online. Kramer North America and Pfeiffer Brothers Construction are both proposers for this project, and we'd like to just give them a chance to introduce themselves, maybe give contact information and anything else that you guys think is relevant that you'd like to get out to the community here. And we can start with Bob at Kramer.
Great, thanks, Ben. My name is Bob Duth again, project manager with Kramer. Just wanted to state that though this is an alternate delivery design build, it is typical of standard WISDOT opportunities for DBEs as far as material supply and sub quotes. So we will be looking for any participation from DBEs to help meet the project goal. We have every intent to meet the project goal, attempt to. So if there's anybody that would like to talk more specific on the job as the design and schedule is evolving here, I'd like them to please reach out to me directly or through our office. If I could give my phone number here, if everybody's ready, if they have any questions, it's 608-393-9743. Again, that's 608-393-9743. And my name is Bob Duth. And then they can also talk to our office direct and estimating department at bidswis@kramerna.com, which is BIDSWI@KRAEMERNA.com. We did send a pipeline invitation out last week, which is our plan review meeting. So all listed DBEs should have received something. If somebody hasn't, or if somebody knows something, please also reach out to us so we can make sure we get it sent so they have some of the project specific info. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Ryan, you want to have a minute? Couple minutes?
Yes, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate being given the opportunity to speak to this group quickly. Similar to Kramer's point, we'll be looking for DB participation, both in materials testing and on-site work. As with most bridge projects with the department, we're going to be looking at rebar. We'd be looking at trucking, excavating, landscaping, all the traditional work items for on-site work, as well as materials. My telephone number, if anybody would like to get a hold of me to discuss the project, is 920-378-1715. And then for email correspondence, you're welcome to email me directly. It's Ryan, RYAN, .Pfeiffer, PHEIFER, @Pfeiffer.com. If you're going to send any quotes over, we can discuss that a little bit later. But if it's quote specific, we do ask that you send it to estimating@pfeiffer.com. And again, that's estimating@pfeiffer.com.
Thank you both. I just have a couple last things. For those who are interested, the Design Build website does have a link to show firms that are interested in participating. We have a fairly long list, I think now. I mean, we're getting a longer list. So if anybody is interested in adding their name to that, as either a DBE contractor or a general contractor that would like to be, or a consultant that would like to be labeled as, not labeled, but would like to be included on this list as someone who's interested in the design build opportunities, you can email me. There's a link to it there on it. This is a screenshot from our website. And then this just kind of shows how to get to our website. You can go to the Doing Business tab on the WISDOT main page, and there's a design build link right there in the pull down menu. And you can email me. My email is there. That would be the way to get on that list or to get any questions answered that you have. And with that, I think that's what I had to say, unless anybody has any questions or anything else they'd like to discuss.
I know there are several DBEs on the call here, so this is your chance. You have the people who can give you the information you need if you're interested in finding out more, have questions about this project. Anybody? I don't see hands. Okay. Pardon? Okay. Yeah, well, thank you. And thanks, Ryan and Bob. As we're just in between the next item, I'm going to note a few people that I saw join and then maybe phone numbers you can help me out. So I see Brent is here from Kramer North America as well. Hi, Brent.
Hello, Madalena. Sorry I was a bit late.
No problem. Barbara Sheedy, DBE, welcome to the meeting. We did note that Jada Bigham is here, or liaison to FHWA for the Wisconsin division. And then I've got some phone numbers. I know John Zignago, you joined. There's a couple other numbers. If I didn't say your name, will you tell us you're here? Or maybe they're shy. I see Kayla Beckham joined us from JH Alliance. Welcome, Kayla, also a DBE. Matt Kuntzman, you're here from OES. Hello.
Hello there. How are you, Madalena?
Good, thanks. Nice to
Good.
see you.
You
Mina
too.
Ham at M Squared. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm happy to see you at Transac. Shannon Geyer at Lunda. Hello. Okay, I think we got everybody else, just making sure, Lori, you have noted who's here, and hopefully our people on the phone will not be shy, maybe put your name in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our prime contractor site visits that we've been doing, and also the DBE team visits to DBE offices. I'm hoping that Maria will add a few comments here as well. She's been doing some of these visits along with me, as has Kathleen, who is out today. We've been to, I think, six or seven primes so far and 3 DBE firms, and we've got quite the schedule moving forward throughout the summer. And anyone on the call who wants us to come visit, also, it's not too late, please reach out. What we're doing really is visiting industry and finding out what's on your mind, sharing what's on our mind. We have kind of a standard agenda of updates that we want to go through, some areas of focus. I'll share a couple of those with you as well, because I think it's important for this group to just be aware of some of the common types of things that we see that always can benefit from a little extra communication. One of those items is in ASP 3, and it is the commitment modification policy, that's section 9. And that's how we collect all of these wonderful attachment and extra participation that Maria was talking about. But it's also where we have the policy and process for how you can replace or reduce a DB commitment. And you must follow the procedures we lay out in ASP3, and that relates right back to the regulation. So we're required to have this type of a procedure in place. And what we were realizing is important is that we make sure that the communication required and that the steps that need to be followed are permeate the your company. If you're a prime contractor, that everybody knows all the way down to your project manager, because they're the person on the ground who is interacting with the DBE and may or may not take a correct action or not, and needing to make sure that whatever tier then that contractor is at, that they're making sure to always bring the prime into the conversation, because the prime is the one who has their contract with WSDOT, and that is their DBE commitment. So you cannot just replace a DBE, tell a DBE to get off the job without first checking in with your prime. We know there are emergency circumstances, and ASP3 will give you some guidance on that too. So we can deal with that. But in general, rule of thumb, 5-day notice to a DBE to give them the ability to respond to why you're making a change in that commitment. Oftentimes, we're seeing that there's much more proactive exchange now, and we hear from a prime in advance, or we hear from a DBE who says, I'm not going to be able to fulfill my commitment. What should I do? So those are the kinds of conversations that are really helpful to our office, and will help you also to make sure that, you know, as the prime, ultimately you get paid for that work. So that's one thing we know. Also, another ASP4, we have noticed what I'm calling some creative retainage. You may recall that ASP4 in December 2020 was changed so that retainage is not withheld by WSDOT on primes, and then in turn not withheld on DDs or on any contractors. But there are some exceptions. You know, you can still, you know, work that's not up to the quality or the standard of the spec, or maybe there's a contract dispute. So check out ASP4, but in general, you're not withholding, and particularly when the item has been paid. And so when I say I see some creative retainage, that is where a DB, generally talking to DBs about this, is saying, well, the prime has told me that because they haven't been paid in full for the contract yet, they can withhold on us the amount that they haven't been paid yet. That's not correct. That actually wasn't even correct before. But we do have some pre-2020 contracts still in the mix. So as a DB, if you're having an issue or wondering why you've got some retainage withheld on those projects that are still ongoing, the compliance team is a really great resource for you. Reach out to them, and they can help you figure that out. First, you know, you're always talking to your prime, right? You're working with the tier that's contracted you to try to resolve things, but can't get an answer, our compliance team will look into that. So so just be aware that if you don't know that ASP4 changed, go look at it, because it did change in terms of retainage. So we are happy to help you. And I guess, you know, if you're any other tier also, I mean, you know, the compliance team serves everybody. So not only a DB issue. So wanted to point that out. Another thing, and you know, Kyle and Sarah are here from Integrity, so they might want to give some input too. We just had a meeting with them, but definitely a topic of conversation that has come up at each meeting has been dealing with increased costs, you know, the supply chain interruptions, fuel costs in particular. Different primes have different strategies for handling that. Some have come up with a fuel surcharge that's in addition to the hourly rate. There have been some other complications sometimes that we hear with that. A couple DBs had told us that the fuel surcharge is great, but they have to lock into a lower hourly rate. So they might be looking at $100 or less per hour that they would have to lock into in order to be selected and then be able to get the fuel surcharge. And, if you need $125 an hour to be able to maintain your fleet, make repairs, so these are all big impacts. And OBOC right now is doing a trucking study and survey of our firms and also surrounding states to see what they're doing related to trucking. So we'll have some information on that coming up, but we do recognize that that is an issue. It comes up everywhere that we've gone. Another issue that's coming up is the shortening in the window of times that a supplier will guarantee a quote. So I had been hearing 10 days and thought, whoa, that's really short. And Kathleen and I talked to a contractor who said, yeah, we were told 3 days by somebody. And that was their supplier who said, look, I'm not going to pass that on to you. I'll give you the 2 weeks, but I'm going to have to, I can only get guaranteed for 3 days. So I'm not sure what's happening there, but these are just sort of the kinds of issues that we're encountering. In general, we're hearing very positive feedback about just getting out there, talking to industry, being there to get feedback, get input. So we will continue to do that. I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but since you're here, do you want to share anything in particular about the visit or just your experience? What you're encountering?
No, I think the visit and talking with you yesterday was very good, just to have kind of open, candid conversation about the process and learning through some of the situations that we had been in. But another thing, with the supply chain issues, as we talked about yesterday, is there are some very large contractors out there who are having issues getting materials and supplies and labor. And if the large guys who can somewhat dictate the market a little bit are having challenges, then arguably a lot of the DB contractors are running into those same issues, if not more issues, because they don't have the purchasing power that those larger material suppliers or subcontractors have.
Right. Yep. That's definitely a concern. And it reminds me that we were also talking about when you do come across a good price, that we have the ability to do bulk purchasing, commodity purchasing. So if you purchase from a DBE, fuel would be one of those other items. Ugo would be happy to know. I generally am only saying saw blades. That we have on the website, I think it was in February that we updated that policy just so that you would know how to purchase a bulk supply upfront from a DB. You don't have a project yet to put the credit on, but you're going to buy in bulk. And then as you move through your projects, you can associate that credit and we'll track it for you. You work with us. I won't get into the nitty-gritty details, but you give us the information on when you're going to use that credit, and then we can apply it on a project base. So it's a good way to lock in potentially some good costs while you have them right now, on not knowing what things are going to fluctuate to. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. I guess, in general, it's really just a great way for us to understand what happens out in the field and understand better what people are experiencing who are doing it. We have the theory kind of and the best idea that we can come up with of how a change or a policy that we put in place might work for you. But getting the feedback from people really experiencing it is very helpful, and then helps us refine and get to a place where, hopefully we're working together to achieve the ends. So Maria, are you still on here, or do you want to share anything from our visits? You were on a couple of those visits.
Yeah, well, because you talk about the technical issues that we have been talking with the during our visit. Let me talk a little bit about my perception of how they receive our visit. So first of all, I think they really like to see like put a face to the writing communications. They see you and the first expression is like a human being. Okay, that's good to meet you finally, because everything have been by emails. So that's good. I like that feedback, and I feel that is really good for our partners to communicate and like they say, have a face on those writing communication. But also I have seen like it's good for them to hear from the people in charge the process, how or what is the best way to process all the commitment documents. So it have been a lot of question about it. What is the best way? How they will like to be. So I think that's have a really good feedback, and obviously all these changes that we have been doing in short time, that is, all of us as human, for us it's difficult, all these changes, but they appreciate that. But at the end, they have been noticed that he have been improving the process, making easier for all of us. So I think this is have been a really successful event that visiting our partners have been really good for all of us.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you for adding that. I'm gonna go around in our open agenda. And so anyone that we've come to visit, also please feel free to share anything you would like about those visits, and any ideas perhaps about what we could do to improve them as we move forward, because we really do want these this sort of dialogue to be beneficial and help us to improve the program. So, okay.
Hi, Madalena. This is Quinn with Clearcut. Sorry, I was muted. I was muted earlier, and I couldn't jump in, so I had to call back. But just a little bit about the ASP4, where you're saying DBEs are supposed to get paid within 10 days of their work being performed, and say their scope of work was completed and the prime only got paid 25% on a project. You're saying the prime can't pay the DBE only 25% of their scope of work?
Right, but the item also has to be paid by WISDOT. So then within 10 days, and I see.
Right, so it's 10 days within payment, but if you're a lower tier, so if you're a third or fourth tier, there's 10 days for each level. And yes, with the new ASP4, the contractors need to pass along those payments without retainage unless there is just cause. And if there's some just cause to withhold, they should be telling you what they consider just cause and documenting that with you and working that out with you. But as Madalena said, there are some carryover projects, ones that still have the older ASP4, and those continue in their current state where, we are holding retainage on contractors, and, our retainage can be passed along to others. Does that help?
I guess the other part of my question is, if it's a larger project and they're not paying and they're saying we haven't gotten paid yet, then would a DBE be like subject to liquidated damages if they decide to not perform?
Yeah, I wouldn't jump right into that. If I were you, I guess if they're saying they're not getting paid, I would get into CRCS and see if that is true or not. And all the payments are listed in CRCS, and you can see whether that's correct or not. And if you are having issues, as Madalena said, contact OBOC, and folks will get out there and do some work on your behalf.
And there's also a way, Quinn, to check a payment log through HCCI. And if I haven't sent that link to you, I will. And I'll put it in my e-blast as well, so you can see if a prime has been paid. And then you'll be able to track from there and anticipate. You know, if you were a first tier, then you should be able to know, okay, within 10 days, if that my item was part of that payment. So do you want to add anything? Okay.
Madalena, this is Leah. And it would help that that information be included in the meeting minutes, so that folks have that. If others
Yes.
would like to have that information, if you can give that to Lori.
Sure. Yep. So Lori, you'll note that and I'll get that to you. Thank you. Thanks for that question, Quinn. While we're with you, do you want to add anything else? Any comments? Other questions? Quinn is with Clear Cut Solutions, a DBE firm.
No, I was just curious what the prime thought about ASP4, because out of my experience and every single prime I've talked to, they're unaware.
I don't know. I would say unaware probably. Are you guys aware? Right? Integrity grading is aware.
No, I think, you know, the one thing that we hit on there is just cause, right, for withholding. And I think if WSDOT were to able to help us formalize or identify just cause, that would be good for not only DBE contractors, but what we talked about yesterday is that, you know, we're running into situations where we're a subcontractor on some jobs and we're being short paid and we don't get a lot of information. It's just, you know, we're withholding money because, you know, you cause delays here, here, and here, and it's very vague information. So if we can maybe formalize that, I don't know how you would do that.
Right.
Because it's a very gray area sometimes. Yeah, I think
To be more
it's
transparent.
definitely a situation, especially when it comes to smaller contractors that can be somewhat crippling.
Right.
Because as we talked about yesterday as well, is that with larger contractors also come more expertise in certain areas. You know, contract language is very specific, and you only have so much time to defend yourself and spend time working on paperwork and making phone calls if you're the one out there running trucks and running equipment.
Right. Well, good feedback. While you're talking, anything else? Either of you want to add? Questions, comments?
Maybe just that kind of to respond to that, you know, I guess just cause, I don't think the department really can kind of envision all things that would be considered just cause, but I guess I want to focus back on the ASP4 language. And that if people are withholding, if because of just cause, it requires a written notice to the contractor that they're holding against and the department. And, you know, we will kind of evaluate whether we feel that's legitimate or not. So I think it's more difficult to kind of envision just cause stuff.
Right.
But, you know, if somebody's damaged something as part of their work and they're withholding money because something needs to be repaired, those are all things that kind of come to mind.
Yeah, and maybe that's the part I'm getting at is maybe
Okay.
that formalization of, we're gonna write a letter,
Yeah.
here's your payment.
Right.
Here's also a letter that we not only submitted to you, but we also submitted to the department to support the reason why it's withholding.
Yes, and that is part of the SP4, so people should be doing that if they're holding any money.
So Lori, please make a note. We'll send ASP4 out, and it's occurring to me that we have a lot of consultants on this particular call. And so just so you're aware, ASP4 and any of the additional special provisions we're talking about here are applicable to construction contracts. So in consulting, while the regulation is definitely applicable to you, 49 CFR Part 26, it's handled in a different way. So you won't see these ASPs attached to a consultant contract. So I just want to make that distinction. Same protections though for you. Prompt payment is part of everything. So just in case, I know we've got some new firms on the phone. Okay, so thank you. Thanks, Beth. Jill, while I'm looking at you, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think I got the things I wanted to discuss earlier.
Okay, great. Ben?
No.
Okay, so we're gonna go around the virtual room then. Ann Nishak at Arrowcrete. What are you thinking, Ann?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay, well, we'll come back to you. Think of something. Andrea, do you have anything to add? Andrea Poppenhagen.
Nothing to add. Let's see. You commented about the mentor protege. Is that just on the construction side, or have you started the design side yet? I know
We
talked
have,
about- Okay.
yes, we've started the design side too, and I know that Benji Hayek, if she hasn't already reached out to you, will be reaching out to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Ava Gardetto. Any comments or
Nope.
questions?
Nothing from me.
Okay, thanks for being here. Bob, this is your first Transact meeting, at least with this group. Any comments, questions, anything you'd like to add?
No, sorry. Thanks for having me. but,
It's okay.
nothing to add.
Thanks for being here. Brent Freeman.
No, I believe our first meet and greet is with you guys tomorrow at our office. So looking forward to that, Madalena.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll talk about a number of the items we just discussed today. So
Okay, all right. You can
that's
save
it.
all.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Brian Mitchell. Brian
I
Mitchell
guess
now
I'd
at
like to
Michael's.
say, we were happy to host you at Michael's when you and the DB and when the DB team came to visit, and I think it's an excellent idea. So keep up that good work, and I'm glad to see the numbers showing some progress. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us. It was great to see your vast yards as well. That was definitely eye-opening. Okay, where are we at? Shannon Clary at Aeronautics. Anything you'd like to add?
Nope, just listening in.
Okay, thanks for being here. I'm gonna skip Leah and come back to her at the end. So Elia, questions or comments?
Nothing here. This is our first meeting, so we're happy to listen in.
Okay, great. Thanks for being here. Jesse Friend, Aeronautics.
No, just hello, nice to meet everyone, and we'll look forward to working with you more in the future.
Okay, thank you for being here. Lori, do you need to clarify anything that's happened thus far?
No, other than maybe mentioning to everybody about how these meetings are now going to be on YouTube.
Thank you. Yes, we are. Yeah, so we're posting our meeting recordings. It's a YouTube channel that DTSD has switched to. So it'll be linked through our meetings page, Transact, Transcac, and the DB Stakeholder Advisory. So you will be able to watch the recordings and listen to them along with the notes. Thanks for that reminder, Lori. Are you excited about that? Not so much? Okay. We record them, so, it's out there, but we were hoping that would be a good resource, especially when people can't make the meeting. Jennifer Hildebrand, anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you so much for having us. As Elia mentioned, we haven't participated in one of these to date, so it's been very helpful information. One question I have for clarification, some of the statistics that you shared regarding DBE participation, those statistics, are they inclusive of contracts that WisDOT secures with a DBE directly? So you talked about arrangements with contractors where there is a DBE participation. Do those statistics also include contracts where WisDOT secures participation with a DBE directly?
Yes, and if you look on the uniform report too, it will call out if those contracts are primed. So where it shows the DBE primed that contract, that is a WisDOT contract directly with the DBE.
Great, thank you.
And just so you know, if you and Elia don't have the information already, Transcac, which is the consultant focused advisory committee, meets next week. So that meeting, will give you more of a consultant focus, on industry.
Excellent. Thank you.
DB related, sure. Thank you for being here. Kayla Beckham, JH Alliance. You've been hearing us talk all about trucking. Anything you want to add? Oh, maybe she's having some audio issues because I see she's not muted, but. All right, Kayla, well, if you want to say something, we will come back to you. Matt Grove. What do you have for us, Matt?
I don't have anything else. I mean, we could talk about ASP4 for a while. Obviously, there's a lot of questions in that area. So if any contractors do have any questions or concerns, please feel free to call. Can work through that. Dealt with it for a number of years.
Okay. Yep. Thanks for adding that. And I know that you know, whenever we're doing updates, policies, anything that is DBE related, Matt is very good about getting that out to WTBA members. So we'll continue to get that to you as well. Matt is another communication channel. Matt Kunstman.
I got nothing else to add. Appreciate the information as always, and glad to see that you're continuing to hit your goals.
Great. Thanks for being here. And Paul and Don has joined us from our DBE team. Sorry I didn't see you before, Paul. Anything you'd like to add?
No, quite a spirited conversation regarding the payments information. So
I know, near and dear to your heart.
yeah, if there are any questions that come up or any help I might be able to assist with, feel free to give me a call or a holler. I'll be happy to help.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Ijoma, anything you'd like to add?
No, nothing for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madalena, this is Larry with JPS.
Larry, yes.
I've got another meeting I've got to get to here, so thanks for another great meeting, and we'll see you in our Medford office, I think in a couple weeks.
Yes, we'll see you there. Thanks, Larry. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ryan Pfeiffer, thanks for being here today. Any comments or questions? Brian is muted. If you're trying to talk. Maybe not. Okay, I know we had a weird situation last time around where some people got kind of permanently muted and there was a trick to unmute them. I don't know if anyone on the call remembers what that was, but there's a couple buttons you push to get unmuted if you are forced mute. I don't know. Okay, well,
Looks
Ugo,
like
my
Lori's got her hand up. Maybe she knows what to
Lori,
say.
do you know the trick?
Well, I think the trick was to hang up and call back. I think that was the short of it. Was just hang up.
Oh, okay, so that works too.
Caleb Beckham just sent in the chat that she is muted and I don't even see her name.
Okay, yeah, there was something someone had suggested last time and I was like, oh, gotta remember because it was really helpful, you know, like Control P or something, and then it would unmute you. So anybody listening in, if you know the trick. Okay, Shannon Geyer, anything you'd like to add, Shannon?
Nope, I have nothing to add. We're just kind of getting our list and stuff ready for when you guys come up to Black River next week.
Yep, we're looking forward to seeing you. Thank you. Stephanie Mercado.
Nothing to add, but always appreciate seeing the numbers and looking at that breakdown. So thank you.
Thanks for being here. And Hugo, any questions, comments, anything we didn't cover yet?
No, I think it was really a good meeting. I like the numbers. I think Stephanie may have mentioned earlier, just making sure that we're looking at. I know one was total year, and then the other one was year to date, and we're looking at the growth. That column, I wasn't sure if the percentage of growth was based on the total column, because the total column was also it was kind of tough for me to track those numbers. But anyway, I say all that to say. Growth is great, but obviously we want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. But even more importantly is where's the growth coming from? Are there certain industries? We're looking at trucking. I know that some of our trucking contractors are definitely having more work than they can find trucks for, which is a great thing. But looking at, you mentioned some of the other areas, which I thought that was very beneficial, looking at safety, traffic safety, and looking at some of those other industries that some of our folks may want to be tapping into. And then last but not least, while we're having the open, honest conversation, about the ASP4, and definitely looking at, a clear definition of what just cause is, whether it's on the WSDOT side. But I think also, I just want to make sure, while we're having the conversation, I think we all agree that, to meet clear expectations, that's the kind of the thing that really jumps, when I'm hearing, obviously no one wants to make a payment that's, that's not justified. But I think that there's so much that can be accomplished ahead of time. When we look at business, especially business relationships going into something, if we're able to explain and identify what the expectations are coming in. So for example, when the prime says, hey, if there is a concern, this is how we, whether it's, Payne and Dolan, whether it's Pfeiffer Brothers, hey, this is how we normally handle it, or this is how we normally approach it. Or here are some best practices learned of things that have happened before in the past. And I mentioned that I think we all agree is that the more we're able to have those open, upfront, honest conversations ahead of time. And I just look at some of our relationships we have with infrastructure contractors all across the nation, is because we had those honest conversations in the beginning about setting up what the proper expectations were. And I'll say that last but not least, because it's a payment, but on the other side of it, and I think a lot of our diverse owned firms, subcontractors in general, there are a lot of firms that are not here anymore because of what that payment, especially if it's a biggest project that this small firm has ever had, that delay in payment can have catastrophic impact. So if there's some way that we can, spend more time thinking about how we can have those honest conversations ahead of time, and again, it's just something to think about, because what that payment may mean to that person on the other side could be a lot more impactful than it will mean to that prime. And I think a lot of it can be remedied by just talking ahead of time, letting people know. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ugo. And when Kathleen is here at the next meeting, she'll talk a little bit about her efforts to reach out to contractors to ask about sharing best practices, how we might look at approaching that, what works, what doesn't work, how WSDOT fits into that. And also, as we look at more DBE roundtable events, we're looking at fall for that kind of exchange. Sorry, were you going to add something?
No, total agreement.
Okay.
I think it's great. I'm glad we're having that conversation, because I think that's, over the years, the more times you can have the primes lay in about, explain about how they do business and what's the best way to approach it and to engage, it's so beneficial, and it just, to me, it's better to have that conversation. It's much more effective to have that conversation on the front end than it is on the back end. And that's,
Yes.
but no, I agree with all the outreach that you guys are doing.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Hugo.
Thank you.
Magdalena,
Yes, Maria.
Lori has her hands up, and um, Paul already put a comment over there how to unmute on the chat. Okay, if anybody
great.
having trouble, go to the chat, because Paul already placed over there the way to process.
Okay, so Kayla, maybe that'll help you. If you're in Windows, Control Spacebar, Mac Option Spacebar. Lori, do you still have your hand up or a new hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Matt, I was putting in the minutes about contractors with questions and concerns to contact him. Did you want to provide a phone number or just to put your email in there?
Yeah, email's great, mgrove@wtba.org.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, and thanks for noticing that, Maria. Let me go back to my people. I think We've gone around to everyone, except for, Jada. Sorry, hang on, Leah. I forgot Jada was here. Jada, are you here? Would you like to comment from FHWA? Okay, maybe we lost Jada. Phone numbers, anybody I missed who's in a phone number? John Zignago. Okay. All right, then. I think everyone had a chance. Lori, we're gonna assume your hand is just a residual. And come over here to Leah.
Sure. Thank you, Madalena. Just briefly, welcome to those of you that this is your first Transact meeting, so we appreciate you being with us today and look forward to participating in either Transact or Transcact meetings in the future. And then just thank you all for your feedback. This has been a really good discussion, so appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. And Scott Laurie will let you take us out.
Thanks, Madalena. Again, like everybody said, it's great information shared, and I echo Leah, great feedback on things that the department needs to continue to look at to get better. So appreciate the discussion and look forward to more in the future.
Great, thank you. Thank you all. Thanks everybody in the room. Bye.